Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Hold it, you're not that pretty. I'm a bad man. Wait. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I bear witness, there's only one God, Allah, and Muhammad is his final messenger. That's what I said, Larry, on the Bungle fight. Thanking you.
They call me the problem, but you could call me the can man, because anybody can get it. Africans, Americans, Dominicans, Mexicans, anybody can get it.
How y'all doing, ladies and gentlemen? Pieces and blessings upon all my Akhis and all my sisters out there. Welcome to Split Decision, episode 46. As you all know, I had technical difficulties. We having the late night edition. I just came from a wedding. We had 2 weddings this week, so I've been dealing with a whole lot. But just like I promised all of my Akhis, once I hit 30K, I'm going to have everything in order. From Split Decision every Sunday, and even another boxing show, which is with my own Akhi Boxing Hood, with my own broski, my own Akhi, so I could give the fans and all of my Akhis more time slots to call in. Nevertheless, we are here today. There's so much to talk about, from Gary Russell claiming that he broke Terence Crawford's jaw and Terence Crawford take on the manor, from Billy Haney responding to Gary Russell and calling him on the spot while he was claiming Devin Haney is ducking, and many more topics such as Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones. Excuse me. And so many more topics. Shout out to Carlos T, I Am Back, Davis, Chain, TC, Salute Akhi, Supreme. You know, we don't gotta always agree. There's 2 sides to every story. When it's opinionated, but when it's factual, then when the facts is stated, it trumps opinions. When the truth is spoken, the other side is nothing but a lie. So I would love to talk to you, Akhi. All you got to do is call in. The number is in the description box. So like I said, there's so much to talk about today. We're going to start it off proper.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
So Showtime announced the boxing return of PBC. For the people that don't know, PBC is simply the UFC of boxing. The reason why I say that, they took a page out of the UFC and what they did during the pandemic, such as making big fights, big cards, such as Masvidal versus Usman on a 1-week notice, right? So the UFC been doing that through the pandemic, making a whole lot of money because there is no competition. They not going up against any other sport. So it would have been wise if some boxing entity utilized the same tactics. And that's what PBC is pretty much doing. It's the first entity that's back on the map. Obviously, Top Rank has Shakur, bring boxing back, the future of boxing, Shakur. However, other than Shakur, they really didn't have any major fights. Even the Shakur fight, if we are being honest, he carried the whole card with his name alone. Nevertheless, Top Rank had plenty of fights, but neither of them really grabbed attention because most of them were prospect and they were trying to fill out how are fans reacting to fights, but they won't really know unless they put on a big fight, a big card. And that's what Al Heyman is doing. Before the pandemic, the biggest boxing entity was PBC. From 2000 2013 or 2012, once Floyd Mayweather and Al Heyman moved to PBC, or Showtime I should say, and they created PBC. It was pretty much the creation of PBC and the fall of HBO, the biggest boxing entity at the time. After that, it was all she wrote. Showtime and PBC always managed to do the biggest numbers than any other network. The writers wrote otherwise. They had a different narrative. Old media tried to hate, but at the end of the day, or at least the night, now they writing about PBC and they working for PBC. Now, how ironic is that? All these writers, all these different writers that was shitting on PBC, that was shitting on Al Heyman, now they have nothing else to do but to cover PBC fights, since they the main dominant force in the sport of boxing, even after the pandemic. Now, as we all see, the biggest boxing return is by PBC and Al Heyman. We have Jermell Charlo versus Rosario returning. Jamal Charlo versus Deryachenko. Two tough fights on pay-per-view. And we have we have Gervonta Tank Davis versus Cruz. We have Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia is nearly done. And many more fights, such as even possibly Manny Pacquiao versus Mikey Garcia. So like I said, the sky's the limit. Showtime announced their boxing return cards throughout the year till the end of the year, and there's more to come. So like I said, Al Heyman is doing great things for the sport of boxing, and it's great to see fights. Like I said, it's one thing to see Shakur perform and other prospects fight. Even Virgil Ortiz fought this weekend. I couldn't cover the fight because I was at a wedding, but nevertheless, they not going up against tough competition. The main thing that attract a lot of boxing fans is two names going against each other that have something to lose. So with that being stated, we all know PBC is simply the UFC version of boxing. Al Heyman is doing the best numbers before the pandemic and after the pandemic. People lie, women lie. However, numbers don't lie when it comes to the sport of boxing, if you're talking about revenue making. Nevertheless, shout out to everybody in the chat. The number is in the description box now. Fights that I'm really excited for is Rosario versus Jermell Charlo. Jermell Charlo announced himself as the king at 154, as he should, because he is the king at 154. Nobody have been able to take the throne from him. So Rosario versus Jermell Charlo is a hell of a fight at 154. Jermell has to be on his P's and Q's in that fight in particular, because Rosario is a live dog. We all saw how he washed J-Rock Williams. A lot of people thought it was due to the cut. A lot of people thought that J-Rock slept on him, but I know J-Rock, and J-Rock doesn't sleep on his opponents. So that speaks of how good Rosario is. So Jermell has to be on his P's and Q's. So does Jamal against Deryachenko. I told you all, that's the Sean Porter version of 160. He's a little more technical. Nevertheless, he's a beast, and you definitely can't sleep on him. And we got Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia. Is nearly done according to the WBC president. It should be next. So that's a hell of a fight. That's possibly the biggest fight of them all, because Errol Spence, there's a question mark next to his name. Is he the same? People want to see how he's going to perform right after an accident and a huge layoff. Well, it's like nearly a year, possibly or most likely Errol Spence's biggest layoff yet. So we yet to see how Errol Spence looks. So that's the $1 million question. Is Errol Spence back on the map? Errol stated that he's back 100. We won't know till we see. So against Danny Garcia is a tough fight, but nevertheless, Errol Spence, even coming off a car crash, he want all the smoke. And of course, we have Sean Porter next fight. Let me go ahead and pick up the phone. Give me a second, Akhi. I gotta connect you to the studio. How you doing, Akhi? Who this is and where you calling from?
Hey, what's going on, Akhi? Much love, man. It's your boy Carlos T coming from Texas, man. Yeah, I'm going to keep it brief, man, because I know somebody else going to call in after me. But I'd like to get your feelings and your predictions on Teofimo Lopez and Lomachenko coming up soon. And also, who would you like to see Shakur Stevenson go up against next?
Okay, well, the first question, Lomachenko versus Tio. I'm not going to lie to you. I like Tio. He reminds me of Prince Nassim Hamed. He from Brooklyn, where I'm from. But if I'm speaking, out of, logic and I'm not thinking emotionally, I have to go with Lomachenko slightly in a split decision because Tio is going to have to stop and KO Lomachenko in order to win. They're not going to give him the win unless he dominates on the scorecard. That's one thing. Another thing, Lomachenko has a lot of experience, and I will have to give him the edge, even though I like Tio. But I have to call a spade, and I think Lomachenko, with his experience and skill level, he should be able to avoid the power and wins on the scorecard. But Tio got a lot of boxing skills, and we'll see how he looks against Lomachenko. I won't be too surprised if Tio pulls it off because I seen him spar Ugas, and he would look like, I don't know if Ugas was taking it easy, but he looked like he was schooling Ugas, and Ugas one of the best 147 pounders. So the man has skill, the man has will, the man has power. So I'm going to have to go with Lomachenko if I'm being honest. Now, your second question, when it comes to Shakur and who would I like to see him step up against, I would love to see him fight Gary Russell Jr. because because we see Gary Russell keep calling out welterweights and Crawford and Devin Haney and all of them guys. So I'd rather see Gary Russell fight somebody his own size. So I don't hear, oh well, the weight jump was too much. I'd rather you fight somebody on your own division that's recognized as the best. Shakur is the future pound for pound #1 in my humble opinion. Gary Russell is maybe you could say currently the best 126 pounder. Him and Shakur. So I would love to see them clash. What's your opinion on both? Lomachenko versus Tio, and then Shakur versus Gary Russell.
Now, personally, I like Teofimo too. I'm not gonna lie, but like you said, Lomachenko got the slick footwork, man. So Teofimo might have that power, but like you said, you got to catch him first. So I don't know. Like you said, if it goes to the cards, I gotta agree with you. They're probably gonna give it to Loma. Now Shakur, I wasn't really sure personally, man, but him and Gary Russell Jr. would be an amazing fight. I would love to see that.
Who you got? That's the $1 million question. Who you picking? You got to show money on Shakur, the future, or Gary Russell? You think his time? You think he got experience on his side? What's up? What you think?
If I got to rock with somebody, man, I'm going to rock with Gary Russell Jr. just because he's been in it a little bit longer. And, I mean, Shakur could possibly stop him, but I think there's a better chance of Gary Russell stopping Shakur before the other happens.
Right. Now, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I like, Gary Russell. He talked the talk. He walked the walk. He seemed like he want all the smoke. I'm going to dive into him calling out Terence. He won't, him calling out Devin and all of the above. But at the same time, I think what will give Gary Russell problems or trouble is Shakur footwork. I think his footwork is what's gonna give Gary Russell a lot of problems because he has a lot of hand speed. But against guys that sit in the pocket and they stationary, Gary Russell could dance circles all around them all night. But when it comes to a guy like Shakur, who I think has tremendous speed and defense and footwork, I think that's going to trouble Gary Russell. So with that being stated, any last thoughts you want to leave before I pick up some other calls?
Before I go, man, just want to let you know, man, I love what you do, man. Big fan of the show. Man, congratulations. And honestly, bro, you probably be hearing from me again at some point. But, yeah, I knew somebody was going to ask you about Gary Russell and Bud at some point, so I'll leave it to somebody else.
I got y'all. Appreciate it so much, and thank you for the love and support. Always call in, and like I said before, I'm going to have more time slots, so because I'm going to have another show, one going to be on Sunday, another's going to be on a Wednesday, and eventually I'm going to have one on Saturday. So I appreciate you calling in. Call again, all right?
I love Akhi.
All right. Peace, Akhi. 100. Go ahead and pick up another call. So let me go ahead and pick up another call. How you doing, Akhi? Who this is, and where you calling from?
Greg calling from Vegas.
Greg, what's up? What's going on? So you've been hearing a lot lately. What you want to talk about?
I wanted to talk about this because Sean Porter came to the gym that I train at, and I got to meet him and whatever. But I have to say I was disappointed because I seen an interview from Fight Hype, and I also seen another YouTube channel brought this up, where he had been like, they said he had been calling out Crawford, and Crawford said he would take the fight, this and that. But in this interview, I don't know if you've seen it, but he tried saying that, like, Terence Crawford was too much of his friend for him to fight. And I don't know if it's maybe that, like, we all know the WBO is basically a top-ranked belt, and maybe certain fighters don't view that as, like, a priority to get. But I thought it was disappointing and just bad for business on Sean Porter's side to say that wouldn't fight him because they're friends and they're both specialists.
You talking about, this is the recent interview on Fight Hype, right? That's the one you're referring to? Yeah, I saw the interview, and he pretty much, like I said, is this friendship again. And I said in the past, if they really that close, Terence would have went to Sean Porter's wedding. I mean, if I had a wedding, a year ago, and if you're a friend of mine or you're a close friend of mine, I'm expecting you to show up. If you don't show up, we no longer cool if you don't have a decent excuse. Nevertheless, Terence already came out on, Max Kellerman on Max on Boxing, and he clarified that he not ducking or dodging any opponent. He said when it comes to Sean Porter, if they want it, they could get it. But he also added he's disappointed in them because of the fact that when they had a title, they never mentioned his name. But as soon as they coming off a loss to Errol Spence, then they push him for the fight, or they show interest of the fight. But when he was calling out all the other champions, saying that he wants belts, he want to fight the champions, Sean Porter didn't raise his hand. He didn't say, oh, well, we are friends, but we could put our friendship aside to fight for a unification, which would have been huge. So Crawford obviously, showed his disappointment there. But like I said before, Sean Porter is a good fighter. I respect him. I respect his relationship with his dad and how he carry himself. But if we call in a spade, I have to rock with Crawford on this one. What's your take?
Well, I mean, my take is this. I don't think it's going to happen based on that statement he gave out. And I don't know if it's because he's scared of him or, like I said, he doesn't value the WBO belt or whatever. But, I mean, I would definitely put my money on Crawford. But I don't know. Like I said, I think it would be a good fight given how well Porter did against Spence. And I would still have Spence over Crawford if they were to fight, too.
Yeah, it'd be a hell of a fight.
I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen just based on, that interview. And then it just seemed like he really wasn't interested.
Yeah.
And I'm not even really sure who he plans on fighting next because
I could tell you that. According to sources, Sean Porter's next fight will take place on August 22nd on Fox against unbeaten German welterweight Suspestein Formula. I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name. He fighting Formula. Yeah, it's an unknown fighter. And just to inform you, Craig, that see, when you coming off a loss, according to the WBO, you can't fight for the strap if you coming off a loss. So I knew from day one they weren't going to fight next. I kept telling a lot of people that if they're going to fight, they're not going to fight for the WBO title unless they break the rules again like they did for Lomachenko when he fought Gary Russell. But other than that, I knew they weren't going to fight again because of the fact that Sean Porter coming off a loss, and the WBO clearly says on the rules that a challenger that's challenging the champion can't be coming off a loss. So I knew it wasn't going to be next. But I think it's a good look for Shawn Porter to stay active till he could get a big name. However, I would love to see him versus even upcomers. I would love to see him test like a guy like Virgil Ortiz or Jaron Ennis, or a rematch with Ugas, or even Keith Thurman. All these fights are mega fights at the welterweight division.
Yeah, I personally thought Ugas won that fight, but
me too.
I guess the judges thought differently.
Yeah.
But my other thing I was going to bring up, and then I'll let you know, because I know you got a lot of people calling, is you think DAZN is going to go broke?
Man, funny you say that. I actually just had a conversation with Deontay, and we were talking about Matchroom announcing their boxing return. Obviously, PBC did the same, but they announced it on Showtime, and they have pay-per-view fights and all of the above. And then Matchroom is announcing the fights on YouTube, on their YouTube account. And you will think it'd be on DAZN since they keep, charging people, and they don't have events other than the Virgil Ortiz fight versus Samuel, right? Now, the crazy part about it, DAZN eventually they're going to go out of business if this continues, because they seem to be more damaged than we previously assumed. So the fact that they didn't have fights on for like a couple months, and the fact that they are a streaming network, so there is no revenue coming in other than fights thus live. So due to that, most of their content is already on YouTube, on DAZN, on their YouTube account. So if you subscribe to the app, why would you subscribe unless there's live events, which they clearly don't have live events yet? I mean, let them tell it. Canelo's going to fight next on their page, but when? I mean, Mike Tyson, he knocked out Canelo. Mike Tyson.
I heard his lawyer said he wasn't going to because he didn't want to take a pay cut.
Canelo don't want to take a pay cut?
Yeah. It was on ESPN.
There were reports.
His lawyer said that he wasn't happy with the money he was offered for the September fight and wasn't going to take it.
Wow, that's news. See, previously somebody reported that Canelo was going to take a pay cut, but apparently he changed his mind if he wasn't going to get a tomato can. Like I said before, if he fights Jason, whoever that guy is, I mean, Jason, if they offer him $20 million, let's say he takes a pay cut against Jason, DAZN's still losing money. And Canelo, he haven't fought on the Mexican Independent Day for I don't know how long on the Mexican holiday, because remember when he told Floyd Mayweather that I'm going to take the Mexican dates from you, and then he ended up backtracking his comments after Floyd Mayweather fought Manny Pacquiao, and he had to move his date. And now Mike Tyson is taking Canelo Alvarez's date yet again. He knocked out Canelo Alvarez on his own date yet again, because September he's supposed to be fighting, and we got Mike Tyson versus John Jones, and versus Roy Jones, and I know Canelo Alvarez is not gonna go against that. So he either gonna fight later on September or even November, but he definitely is not gonna compete with Mike Tyson. And if he is, the only way he have to fight a guy like Andre or Charlo, which that's something he won't do. We already know that. So if it's not an interesting fight, where it's a 50-50 fight, where there's a lot of question marks next to the fight, people is not gonna pay to watch it. If they know the outcome already, they will be more intrigued in a Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones spectacle than a Canelo fight. With that being said, state your last couple comments, and then I'm gonna have to pick up some more callers.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, unless he fights Demetrius Andre or Charlo or anybody that's in their prime, that's at middle, super, or light heavyweight, I have no interest in watching it personally. And I usually watch every fight, but if he's just going to fight Uber drivers and stuff, I'm good.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Hey, me and you on the same page on that one. Always great talking to you. And tune in next show, all right? Call in next show, man. Thank you.
Yep. All right.
Craig from Vegas. But with that being stated, so Virgil Ortiz, he knocked out Samuel Vargas. Now, obviously, Virgil is the future of boxing. I'm highly impressed by his performance. He seemed to be one of those rare fighters that come forward and still get knockouts, and he's also defensively responsible. I'm impressed with the way Virgil takes angles. He's not just a walk forward fighter. He's not your average, pressure fighter. He utilizes head movement. His defense and his guard is always up. He has tremendous hand speed, tremendous power, and tremendous timing. He also has skill, and he utilizes angles. On top of all of that, he goes to the body like there's no tomorrow. So I really enjoyed what I saw in Virgil Ortiz. I'm impressed, highly impressed by him. I can't really say who is gonna step up and fight Virgil Ortiz, because obviously, according to Oscar De La Hoya, he came out stating that he does not believe that Keith Thurman and Al Heyman will be willing to fight Virgil Ortiz. Now, I don't know about Al Heyman, because you got to throw Al Heyman out of the equation. He has nothing to do with this. It's all up to the fighters at the end of the day, because if Keith Thurman wants to fight and, Virgil challenges, he already called out Keith. Right after the fight, he called out Danny Garcia as well. If Keith wants to fight, he can make the fight happen. But at this point, I'm pretty sure Virgil has more to gain fighting Keith than Keith. Keith Thurman, he felt like that's a lose-lose situation, because he's a dangerous opponent, and if he loses to Virgil, his career is pretty much over. However, down the line, that could possibly change. Because Virgil Ortiz, in the future, he could well be the star. How you doing, Akhi? Who this is and where you calling from?
Hello?
Yeah, how you doing, Akhi? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. What's good, man? This is Jules of Life.
Jules of Life. What's going on, Jules of Life? How you been, man? I haven't seen you in a minute. You've been missing out here.
Yeah, basically we've been like, when I'm around, you're not around, and when you're around, basically I've been asleep or I've been gone. Recently, my grandmother, she actually passed this last month, and so basically I had to go back home. And and then my nephew, he had
to you, and
yeah,
she rest in peace. But I hope you're doing okay throughout it all. But what do you think about Virgil and his potential at 147 and a fight possibly between him and Keith Thurman? Because Oscar De La Hoya seemed to be pushing for that fight.
Me personally, this is how I feel about it. I feel that Virgil Ortiz is overrated. I think that Virgil Ortiz is a good fighter, but I don't think that he's has more potential than Ryan Garcia. I think that him versus Keith Thurman, I think Keith Thurman is way more experienced than him. I think that Keith Thurman has a better fighting style. Keith Thurman has better ring IQ. I think that Keith Thurman, it's debatable on who's stronger, because Virgil Ortiz really hasn't fought anybody that can take a punch, really. And when you're a power puncher and you're going up the weights, people were saying the same thing about Errol Spence Jr., but Errol Spence Jr., he actually proved it.
Yeah, I think, Virgil is, I think he has the skill, though, to prove it. I think he got skill, and I don't think he's just a power puncher. He actually have good speed. I really never pay attention to Virgil Ortiz that much until Oscar kind of, really started promoting him like crazy while he was shitting on Ryan Garcia in the meantime. So I was like, let me see what's going on with Virgil, because Oscar seemed to be very hyped on him. And I see why Oscar De La Hoya is pushing for him. I think, I disagree with you on that. I think Virgil going to be one of the best 147 pounders. However, it's just such a weight it's such a tough weight division that you have Jaron Ennis on the come up, you have Sean Porter, you have Ugas, you have Danny Garcia, you have the best of the best, Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. So I don't know how far he could go in a deep division like that. Nevertheless, I think he is the truth. Like, I am not going to cap. I really would love to see him in the future against Errol Spence. And on that note, let me tell you what Errol Spence said on his performance, because he congratulated Virgil Ortiz by stating, hold on a second. He said, I love what Virgil Ortiz is doing, destroying his shit. Good luck, brother. We go back. It's love. So he's just showing love to Virgil because, as we all know, they both from Dallas, and that's a future mega bout. So you really don't think much to it. You think Errol Spence is going to beat Virgil Ortiz. You don't think it's going to be even a tough fight in the future or none of that.
Yeah, Errol Spence Jr. a whole another league from Virgil Ortiz. Virgil Ortiz is very stiff. Virgil Ortiz is very robotic when he fights. He has power. He don't have that greater speed, and his defense needs work.
He got
That's
speed.
What I think about Virgil Ortiz.
He got speed. I think he got speed. On his side, he seemed to be very fast.
Versus a Jaron Ennis or versus a Sean Porter, Dennis Ugas. No, I don't think so, man. I disagree with you on that one. Yeah, I think that those guys, they would give him a run for his money, and they would give him trouble stylistically. And all of them have higher rematches than him.
We will see. I think they're all tough fights. I'm very interested to see who's going to give him the first opportunity at greatness. Now, like I said before, against Errol Spence, that's too much of a jump of class for Virgil at this point. He could call out Errol Spence and Terence Crawford all he want. However, he has to do more. He has to fight the likes of Ugas and Sean Porter and them in order to put himself in position to challenge the best of the best, pound for pound, top three, Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. So with that being said, what's your take on, what topic you want to talk about today?
That was my topic because I don't know any other topics besides that one.
Which one?
And I was actually interested in this one, that Keith Thurman versus Virgil Ortiz.
Oh yeah, talk to me. What's going on?
Yeah.
So break that fight down for me. How you think the fight is gonna play out? Do you think
that fight?
You really don't think Virgil body work could affect Keith Thurman? Because we already know Keith Thurman don't like it to the body. And from what I've seen from Virgil Ortiz's last fight, the way he goes to the body, man, he be digging that left hook. So you don't think that's gonna trouble Keith Thurman?
I think that Keith Thurman has greater defense than he has offense, and I think that Virgil Ortiz is going to get outboxed if he fights Keith Thurman. Now, the problem with Keith Thurman's biggest weakness is he's always injuring different parts of his body, whether it's his elbow, his arms, his hands. He always has injuries. But if he comes in there and he's able to dig in deep and dig through the pain, I think that he'll be able to pull out of that one. I think he'd be able to win. And actually, I really think that if he doesn't fight Keith Thurman, I think that he should fight Jaron Ennis because there's way too much hype and there's way too much talk on that fight.
Man.
And it gets sickening watching all of these build-ups. Even with the Davis, that's another situation, the Gary Russell Jr. situation. People are always trying to say that he's capped and he's all this, but nobody wants to fight Gary Russell Jr. Nobody wants to fight him. Not Devin Haney, not Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez would want to be his friend over wanted to get in that ring with him. Ryan Garcia didn't say anything, and I love Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia, my favorite 135er.
You talking about Gary Russell?
Gary Russell.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to Tio, we got to take him out of the equation because he has a fight coming up against Lomachenko, the guy who beat Gary Russell. We also got Devin Haney. We're going to talk about, Devin Haney and what Billy had to say. Nevertheless, Gary Russell at 126, he's obviously avoided. Cruz definitely avoided him, this and that. But at 135, I think a lot of fighters will be willing to fight him because of the fact that he is making the weight jump, and because of the fact some fighters just feel like they the best. I think Devin Haney won't shy away from a Gary Russell fight. Nevertheless, when it, I want to stick on the Keith Thurman topic, because you said that you felt like Keith Thurman, he has more boxing skill than Virgil. We don't really know yet, but I say, when you say Keith Thurman has better defense, I think he utilizes his footwork more, and that's something that he didn't do against Manny Pacquiao. He chose to go forward, and we saw that's not his P's and Q's. That's not what he likes to do best. That's not what Keith Thurman specializes in. So against a Virgil Ortiz, he is gonna have to move around. But I think Virgil might get to Keith Thurman at some points of that fight, and I won't say I got Keith Thurman or Virgil winning, because I have to see Virgil step up in class first before making that prediction. But like I said, I really believe in Virgil Ortiz. I think he the future. However, the fight that I really want to see the most is Virgil Ortiz versus Jaron Ennis. I think that's the fight to make. They both top contenders at this point. I think it's fair to say that they both are contenders. So they're going to have to fight each other. Remember,
get knocked out in that fight.
Remember Keith Thurman when he fought Chavez on the come up? They were both like top contenders at the time. They were both undefeated, and that was a hell of a fight at the time. So I think that's their version of Keith Thurman versus Chavez. I'm referring to Virgil and Jaron Ennis. Now, I don't know if, like you said, you think Virgil Ortiz is going to get knocked out. I don't think that's going to be the case. I just think if somebody going to win, it's going to be by decision.
I don't know, man. That's another thing. I mean, Jaron Ennis is the first boxer to remind me of Roy Jones Jr.
He a beast.
He a beast. Out of all the years. So,
yeah, his
only thing is that Jaron Ennis, he kind of has that flaw that J-Rock has, but I mean he's still young, so I mean he's gonna improve on that, because there's times where he leaves himself open, and like he can position his body better in his hand movement, and then like he'll throw a punch and then he'll leave like a whole blind spot open to where his opponent can hit it. But if he can fix that problem, he'll be a nightmare for Virgil Ortiz. Virgil Ortiz has a chance against Jaron Ennis if he's able to find one of those blind spots and get a crack at it. Because that to me, that's his biggest attribute, is power.
Yeah, one thing that don't move is the body. You could move your head all you want, but as far as the body stays stationary. Now, like I said, another thing about Virgil is that sky's the limit, because he's at a deep division, and he happened to be from Texas. So if he keep winning, we eventually gonna see him versus Errol Spence at 154 even, or maybe at 154 in Dallas. So that's a hell of a fight in the future. They both go to the body. They both action-packed fighters. Obviously, Errol's southpaw, Virgil is orthodox, but Virgil Ortiz is going to have to show that he's on that level and challenge Errol Spence. I think he got the talent. He just need to, fight the right fights and fight the best. You're going to lose some, you're going to win some. But eventually, if you keep fighting the best, Errol Spence is going to fight you. So with that being stated, great talking to you. Any last comments?
My last comment is Virgil Ortiz is a good fighter. I put him in the same category as Tank. He's hype job right now. He has to prove himself. It's a pleasure talking to you, Akhi. You have a good day.
Thank you.
Good night. God bless you, man. I'll be back.
All right, take care, Virgil. Jules of life. Man, he gave my man a hard time. But it is what it is. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion. Nevertheless, I feel like Virgil is the truth. Now, of course, that's Errol Spence's nickname. So if he want to call that and earn that title, he gonna need to go see the truth, Errol Spence.
Unknown caller.
Let me go ahead and pick up the call. Man. How you doing, Akhi? Who this is, and where are you calling from? 702. How you doing, Akhi?
Yo, Akhi, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. So where you calling
Good,
from?
good.
Who this is?
Beautiful. This OG, not OG swag that's in the live chat, but this
okay.
OG, man.
OG, I know who you is, OG, and shout out to OG Swag as well. OG Swag, that's my man. And RJ,
Most definitely.
you know what I mean? But go ahead. So talk to me.
Most definitely. Salute Palestine, man. Salute Palestine, the struggle over there for the people. But I want to go ahead and say this already, man. My man said Tank was a high job.
Yeah,
man, get out of here with that.
He giving my man a hard time. He giving everybody a hard time.
Everybody a hard time. I give Virgil Ortiz all his props, man. Keith Thurman, look, great champion in his day. I have a problem with his gazelle hook. He comes in really heavy with that. He leaves himself open for a right hand every time he does that. He's good to the body, but I don't think his head movement compensates for his hand speed. And what happens is he overswings a lot and he puts himself in compromising position. And Pac-Man really, capitalized on that. Went to the body a lot on him, knocked him down. What was the first round? So Keith, awesome guy, but I don't think that Keith should be even worried about making a fight with anybody other than Porter right now. That's the only thing that really makes sense to me at this point. I wanted to say a couple other things.
Yeah, let me add on to that. You're right, because Keith Thurman, the way he lunges and sometimes even telegraph his punches, that's going to trouble him against a guy like Virgil and a lot of fighters too at the top level. But a guy like Virgil Ortiz, who he might going to be able to capitalize on Keith Thurman telegraphing his punches. But I didn't mean to cut you off. You could continue.
No, preach, man. I love to hear you talk. You're a boxing scholar, and I love to listen to your show. I come on every night, and I throw a little in the comment section, man. I appreciate hearing everything you got to say. But you're absolutely right with that. And the only fight that I think that makes sense for Keith Thurman right now is Porter. Spence ain't worried about Thurman. Thurman was ducking Spence for years after he was calling everybody out for ducking him. So the way, Spence is looking at this point, I'm trying to unify the division at this point. That's all I care about, is unifying the division, putting the belts together so I can move up to 154, so I can move up to fighting, bigger prospects. And the thing is, like he said, I whoop Canelo's ass. When Spence said, how whoop Canelo's ass, I truly believe that. He's in there training with the Charlos. Right. He's in there giving them heavy work with Derek James and those cats. So I already know that the guy's caliber enough to be dealing with the highest at 154. So he's not even worried about a guy like Thurman right now. He wants to unify these titles so he can get out of that division, move up so he can get to 154, fight there, and do what he needs to do there as well to make himself one of the premier names in boxing.
Right, and then I think the fight he looking forward to in the future is the Canelo fight. The first interview that I seen of Errol Spence, it was by Deontay. Shout out to Deontay. That's my Akhi. He interviewed Errol Spence, and Errol, he called out Canelo. That's the first person he called out. He said, "I'm willing to move up to 154, 155, whatever, and fight Canelo at any weight." That's how Errol Spence came, and he's still calling out Canelo Alvarez. He said, "I'm willing to move up to 160. I think Errol Spence is going to move up to 160 eventually and try to fight Canelo Alvarez." Oscar De La Hoya already showed interest in that fight, claiming that he's willing to give Errol Spence $20 million for that fight. So nevertheless, that's, the sky is the limit for Errol Spence. I mean, it's his time to shine. The truth is the future and the present. The truth is Errol Spence for a reason, because Errol Spence, he always keep the same energy. From day one, he keeping the same energy. He never changed, don't duck me, son. He didn't switch his whole persona. Errol Spence still the same man. And the thing about it is that what I love about Errol Spence, he always fight the best fighters back to back, coming off even a car accident. I mean, for him to fight Danny Garcia without even testing the water and see how he's doing, lets you know what kind of fabric Errol Spence is cut from. So what's your take on, Errol Spence's future? Can he be the future superstar in the sport of boxing?
Absolutely, 1,000%.
Can he be a pay-per-view star?
1,000%, absolutely. You saw what he did with the Mikey Garcia fight, stands out there in Dallas with Jones and whatnot. You saw how he brought the people out there. He got Mexico's top prospect, Danny Garcia, fighting him. You saw how he brought the people out there. He got the Mexico's top prospect, Danny Garcia, fighting him. You saw how he brought the people out there. He got the Mexico's top prospect, Danny Garcia, fighting him. You saw how he brought the people out there. He got the Mexico's top prospect, Danny Garcia, fighting him. You saw how he brought the people out there. He got the Mexico's top prospect, Danny Garcia, fighting him. You saw how he brought the people out there. He got the Mexico's top prospect, Danny Garcia, fighting him. You saw how he brought the people out there. He got the Mexico's top prospect, Danny Garcia, fighting him. You saw how he brought the people out there. He got the Mexico's top prospect, Danny Garcia, fighting him. You saw how he brought the people out there. He got the Mexico's top prospect, Danny Garcia, fighting him. You saw how he brought the people out there. He got the their top player, Mikey Garcia, who called him out. He didn't call Mikey out. And you see all the Mexicans coming out saying, you know what I'm saying, Errol's picking on Mikey. And Mikey called Errol out. And then he brought him to that stadium and filled up that entire stadium with no trash talk, with no dissing Mikey, giving him props on all his skill because he wanted to build up his opponent because he knew, hey, man, this is a promotion. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I'm here to make my opponent seem like the greatest fighter in the world, so I can bring as many people's eyes to this fight as possible. He's not about all the trash talk and the craziness. He's about going in there and taking care of business, and that's what we need in today's boxing arena. Is somebody who's able to come out, and bring everybody together. Without this divisive tactics, without this bullshit back and forth banter, somebody who's able to bring everybody out, put everybody's asses in the seat, and make some money and take care of business. Errol is the truth. He is the new face of boxing. Canelo, let me tell you something, man. I got an issue with Canelo. Man. Fighting Quigley and John Ryder, these homeless bus drivers and people. Canelo, you're supposed to be the face of boxing. Design giving you over $300 million for 11 fight contract. Man, get your behind in there and take care of business and show what you're made of. I really believe that Floyd Mayweather fight put a bad taste in his mouth when Floyd whipped him like he was his daddy. I mean, because let me say this, because he's afraid to fight fighters with footwork. He's afraid to fight fighters with footwork. He's not worried about power.
Right.
He's afraid to fight fighters with footwork because he comes from that Mexican style of straight up, head first, Rocky Balboa type fighting. And that type of fighting is not going to do well at the top tier, in the top echelon of the boxing rankings. Because when you get up to the top, you got like guys like the Charlos. Now, let me say this. Jamal Charlo is a powerhouse, an absolute powerhouse. The man brings power, he brings agility, and he brings speed. Canelo's afraid of it. He went over to Kovalev, and I believe that fight was fixed. I'm not going to say anything more about that. But he went over to Kovalev, who's the same height as Charlo, went over to Kovalev, similar reach as Charlo, but doesn't have the same power as Charlo, doesn't have the same age advantage as Charlo, the same ability to be.
He was a foot out of the door. Kovalev came out saying, if you thought I could beat Canelo, you don't know shit about boxing. That's verbatim out of Kovalev's own mouth, because he said during the negotiations, Canelo is like a diva with the fact that he wanted a rehydration clause. He also wanted Kovalev, to fight him in 2 week span, right? I mean, 2 month span right after he came off a tough fight against Yard where he nearly won the fight and he almost got stopped. So let me give you this information, because Oscar De La Hoya got asked, would you fight Canelo? And he didn't say no. He said, he's open to it. Now it'd be crazy if Oscar De La Hoya come out of retirement and fight Canelo Alvarez to show him, what it's like to have cojones and fight the best. Because Oscar De La Hoya, we already know they're only talking through lawyers. I've been telling everybody that will listen, they've been beefing because Oscar kept telling Canelo, in order for you to define yourself as pound for pound number one in the game, you have to fight the likes of Andrade and Charlo. But Canelo, on the other hand, he don't want none of the smoke. He don't even mention their name, let alone negotiate, let alone fighting them, right? Now, Oscar De La Hoya is living by example because he's calling out, he want to fight Canelo. So what do you think about that?
He's telling this is what Oscar's saying. Oscar fought the best in his time. Hence why he was the face of boxing in his time. He's saying, you're making the Mexican people look bad, man. He's like, listen, these are my people. I built this platform, this paradigm. And you're coming up behind me under my people, under my promotion, under my names, under my lineages, and making us look bad. Fighting these people who are off rank and off books. This is almost like for God's sakes, man. This is like the Olive Wyland fight versus Tyson Fury. You're cherry picking out here, and if you get hurt and if something comes up amiss and you look bad, then that's our entire franchise. Your name is no longer valuable in the name of fighting the greatest in the top fights, in the industry. We paid you, Design has paid you over $300 million to get on this stage and this platform in front of the world, and You're fighting people who literally bring no asses to the seats that no one knows about, no one cares about. You're destroying your own brand, your own legacy in the name of the Mexican people. And that's what Oscarina Fishnet is up there doing right now. He's saying this, he's coming out like that because he's trying to let Canelo know that you're destroying our lineage. The people like Chavez, the people like, that's why Chavez and his son got to.
Yeah, but they
exactly. Go. There you go.
Barrera, Morales, all of these legendary Mexican fighters, they told him to fight Charlo and Andre. And what does Canelo do? He get pissed at them and claim that Marquez is hating. And Oscar, he want to talk to him through lawyers. And he don't have the cojones like Andre told him to step up and fight the best. It's like a point you brought up earlier when you talked about, that Floyd Mayweather loss really affected him. Because, see, Oscar is looking at Canelo like, bro, you ain't even undefeated. You don't even got an O, bro. Like, why you scared to lose? Like, you already lost. It's one thing to be undefeated and you don't want to lose the O, but it's another when you already lost and you already robbed a Lara in a bout you truly lost and you don't want to give him a rematch. You know what I mean? So the point is, Canelo can't keep maneuvering forever, and if he keep maneuvering forever, then his career is a failure if he doesn't fight Charlo or Andre, because you could run, but you can never hide. Now, what's crazy is Hopkins came out, right? Hopkins came out and stated that, listen, man, Canelo Alvarez, if Canelo fight Jason quickly, or whatever his name is, he said it's okay, right? He said it's okay as long as he fight Charlo next,
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's cool. You remember Andre Ward. He signed to fight Kovalev, 3 fights prior. So it don't matter who Andre Ward fought at the time. We already knew he was going to fight the best at the time at the 175 pounds when he was really the crusher. Right.
Over 5 years in the making, and he still hasn't made it. You only got how many 7 fights left on the DAZN contract? Come on, man.
And it's a bad look. It's one thing like for Hopkins. He stated, Hopkins said that Oscar is serious about facing Charlo. So you're telling me Oscar is about to come out of retirement to face Charlo, and Canelo don't even have the cojones to call them out, to even mention their name. Forget about fighting them. I mean, Oscar is already talking about he want to fight Charlo. I mean, Canelo, on the other hand, he won't even mention their name. And he gave up his title and requested a French fries belt to avoid Jamal Charlo. He avoided Jamal Charlo at 154 and avoided Andre when he was one belt removed from becoming undisputed at 160. Man, this man keep making his fans look bad because they ran out of excuses. They keep bringing their dusty excuse to the table, but we too fresh for that. We too clean. You got to come with a new excuse. We stay knocking out all these dusty excuses, and they are afraid to call in. They are afraid to call in. So what's your take on Oscar De La Hoya saying that he want to fight Charlo and Hopkins co-signing it, right? And Canelo don't even have the cojones to mention their name. What's your take on that?
My take is this. Oscar knows that Canelo is bad for the Mexican brand. And Oscar is in the business of building the Mexican brand, as he should be, 100%, because that's his money. That's where he comes from. That's his lineage. It's his heritage. And I completely 100% understand it. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is that if Canelo wants to be a champion with a legacy, he needs to unify his division. He needs to fight Andre. He needs to fight Charlo. And if those fights aren't put together, then and this contract is over with, then we paid you for nothing. Right. We gave you all of this money for absolutely nothing. And this is what he's bringing to the table and saying that I would fight Charlo coming out of, I don't know how many years, like 15 years retirement. I don't know, to get on this stage and fight Charlo. But you don't have the cojones, as you say, to get up there and fight. He's basically advocating him. He's basically saying, you know what,
He's sunning him. He's sunning
him. Exactly. He's sunning him. He's sunning him for the world to see so that he can get some cojones, he can get some balls about himself and get up there and take care of business so he can represent the Mexican people in the right light, because he's the only thing right now, the only person who can bring them prominence, and he's making them look bad. So, like I said, if I were Canelo, I would unify that division, because in unification of that division, that says that I am undisputed champion of the world. I did everything in my power possible to make certain that my name is cemented in a legacy for future Mexican fighters to look up to come, like Oscar De La Hoya. So Oscar's doing what he's supposed to do by sunning him and advocating him, by coming up saying that I would fight Charlo and you wouldn't fight Charlo, you big you-know-what. So there you go. I agree with you 100% there, Akhi.
Right. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate your take on boxing. You need to call more often. Who this is again?
This OG out of Las Vegas. My name's Orlando, man. I look, man, I'll call in later on. I love your show. I love everything that you and Deontay, Blue Blood, all you guys, man, are absolutely freaking awesome. I love how y'all stand on this news, man. And thank you again for accepting the call. And like I said, man, you know, peace up to Palestine. And, you know, love you guys. You know, thank you again, man. And I'll talk to you again, Akhi.
Thank you, Akhi. Appreciate the call. And shout out to Palestine. For the people that don't know, you know, that's our people too. But I'm from Yemen. And shout out to all the Yemenis as well. Let me see if... See, where... See, call in. For the people that disagree, for all the Canelo fans, hey, OG Swag, let them know. Force them to call in. RJ, you know we want all the smoke. How you doing, Akhi? Who this is or where you calling from?
Hello?
Hello?
Akhi.
Oh, H Money, what's going on? Talk to me. So,
no, this ain't H Money, man.
Oh, this is T-Tone.
You know who it is.
T-Tone, you've been ducking me for so long.
You've been ducking me, man.
I know you don't know shit about boxing, but why you keep ducking me, man?
Duck me, son.
I told you,
better not duck me,
you
son.
better not duck me, son.
Man, you don't put your phone number on it. I had to look in the caller list, man.
Save it.
But you know,
save it. You know, Terence told that save my number,
man. You can't beat the boxing truth, Akhi.
So, okay, what's your excuse? You got you Canelo fighting Jason Quigley next, or whoever he is. He about to fight him next.
Hey, Akhi, now let's have a little talk here now.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, say your piece. Go ahead, say your piece.
Hey, look at the last time we talked, we had a debate about Chavez and Meldrick Taylor and disrespecting Richard Steele for doing his job. Okay. And after the debate, let me go, Akhi.
But this is about
And then after the debate, you know, you said you beat me in the debate, and the professor told you no. And then that was the professor's last show. Man, you didn't get rid of the professor for that, did you, man?
I knocked him out. I knocked him out just like I knocked you out. Remember with the glove gate? You all got knocked out. You all had the same fate. And just to inform you, he agreed with me.
You on that.
Hold on.
You got me confused with somebody else.
No. I say I knocked him out with that. But I'm talking about you. He actually agreed with me because he said that he thought that was a horrible stoppage. And he also agreed that if Floyd Mayweather could back up Canelo, who's a 154-pounder and a weight bully at that weight class, he could definitely do the same thing to the little bitty Chavez Senior. He a great, ain't no doubt about it, but he could definitely back him up if he could back up Canelo. Yeah. He agreed with me. Hey. And the video's still up. I'm gonna put it in the comment section.
Agreed with me.
Forget what the professor said. This is about Canelo. Talk to me.
No,
What's
I'm talking
up?
about that. You know, I beat you in that debate. Well, I was right about Richard Steele stopping the fight.
Man, that was a horrible stoppage. Hey. It was 0 seconds. Why did he stop the fight? The fight was over. How you stop the fight when the fight is over? He didn't even ask. He didn't even tell Taylor. He didn't give him a time to respond. The fans was screaming. Taylor couldn't hear what the hell the referee said. You know what I mean? He should allow the fight to continue. We already knew that. That was the worst stoppage of all time, in my humble opinion. How you stop the fight when the fight is over?
Hey, now my turn, Akhi. Can I talk on that now?
Go ahead.
Now look it. To prove the whole point, why Richard Steele did his job and the respect boxing after the fight, you know, Meldrick Taylor said Richard Steele never asked him if he was okay.
You know why that is?
No, let me go, Akhi. You keep stopping me.
Go ahead.
Now let me go. Let's be fair now. Let's be fair now.
Go ahead, T-Tone. Go ahead.
So that shows, because Richard Steele asked him 2 times. that shows that he was knocked out. He don't even know Richard Steele asked him. So Richard Steele did his job at the count of 10. If you don't answer what the ref says, the ref is taught to stop the fight if the fighter don't respond. So Richard Steele did his job.
If that's
He's
the
not
case,
the timekeeper, Akhi.
if that's the case, Tyson should be knocked out.
Case
Tyson Fury should be knocked out. I'll let you say your piece.
Richard Steele did his job.
Let me say my piece. First of all,
Taylor don't even remember if he asked him if he's okay.
Let me say my piece.
Because he was knocked out.
Okay.
He was knocked out. That's why you don't remember, Akhi.
Let me say my piece.
Okay, now let's go on to the next thing. I can put you straight on.
Tyson Fury, he gets a 15-second. He gets a 15-second count, right? And he told him to walk back in the corner, come back. Are you okay? And all of the above, right? But according to you, Taylor don't get the benefit of the doubt. And on that 10-second mark, the reason why Taylor didn't hear him say whatever, because the fans were screaming. If you know anything,
he was in his face 3 inches from it.
If you know anything about boxing, when you get knocked out, you can't hear shit. It's my language, but you ain't gonna be able to hear a damn thing because of all the noise and all the fans screaming. So all of that, plus you getting hit to the body and to the head, you really are unaware of what's going on, right? So when the referee speaking to you right after a knockdown, depending on how badly you got knocked down, you're not gonna be able to hear clearly, especially when the fans are screaming and the arena is buzzing. And one thing about a person that get knocked down to the head is that they will hear the sound of the fans screaming like they are screaming right on his ear, because that's how loud it is for the people that know that, right? Now, when the referee told him, you know what I'm saying, are you okay? I mean, the man got up in 4 or 5 seconds. It ain't like he stayed on the ground for 8 seconds, 9 seconds. The man got up in no time, and the fight was pretty much over. So on one hand, Tyson Fury and Buster Douglas, they get a 15-second count. On the other hand, Taylor, the referee stops the fight automatic when the fight is already over. But nevertheless, this is a topic for another day. T-Tone, talk to me. So
you got the count of time.
You don't want to say anything about Canelo because I got to keep going.
All right. I'll put you straight on that. And yeah, man, you can't be talking junk on Canelo, man. Canelo's the face of boxing, man. Canelo's doing more in boxing. Give me one name, Akhi, who's doing more in boxing in the last 5 fights than Canelo. You can't. Go ahead.
Who's Canelo
give me
next
your
fight?
name.
Who's Canelo next fight?
No,
who's Canelo next fight? I'm trying to figure out who Canelo. Who
answer one of my questions now. Who's doing more than Canelo right now?
Errol Spence.
Oh, in his last 5 fights.
Hell yeah.
He doing more than Triple G, Jacob,
Errol Spence fought
Kovalev.
Sean Porter.
Man, get out of here,
Listen, Errol Spence fought Sean Porter, Mikey Garcia, Kell Brook,
and Porter.
Lamar Pearson.
Come on, man.
I just told you.
You got to get with the real shit, man.
Hey, answer this question. Who is Canelo next fight?
Keep it real. I'm keeping it real, man.
Who's Canelo next fight? Who's Canelo? I already answered your question. Errol Spence. He fought Sean Porter. He fought Mikey Garcia. He fought Kell Brook. He fought Lamar Pearson. Right? He fought Ocampo because his mandatory didn't want to smoke with him because he's the most feared. He ain't dodging any opponent. He want to fight Terence Crawford. He want to fight Manny Pacquiao. He want to fight Danny Garcia. On the other hand, who the hell Canelo Alvarez fought his last 4 fights? Rocky Fielding? He about to fight, who's this guy name? I forgot his name. Quigley. Who the hell is Quigley, man? Do you know who Quigley is?
Who
do you know who's Quigley?
Jacob.
Do you know who Quigley is? Who do you know who Quigley is? Who's Quigley?
Who's Quigley?
Yeah, who the hell is that?
Who fought him? Spence fight him?
Canelo's about to fight him next. What the hell are you talking about? Errol Spence fought him. I'm talking about Canelo. Canelo's
trying to make legacy, man.
You ain't trying to debate, man. You just trying to talk over people. Like I said, answer the question. Who the hell is Canelo about to fight next? Josie Quigley, whoever this guy is. Who the hell is he?
That Kalen Smith, everything. Billy Joe, man, everything got messed up. Akhi,
Hold up, Billy Joe fought on the YouTube undercard his last fight and nearly lost it. What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying it would be a champion. Canelo's gonna fight 5 champs in a row.
Who is he gonna fight next? Who is he gonna fight next? Why he's not fighting Charlo and Andre?
The champion. If it's up to Canelo, it's gonna be
you're running out of time. Hey, T-Tone, like I said, you always get knocked out. Canelo Alvarez.
Defeated. Don't lie to the boxing people.
Like I said, time and time, T-Tone.
Don't lie, Akhi.
You keep talking over people. You keep deflecting. You don't answer the question. Do you know who Joseph Quickly is? Do you know who Jace Quickly is?
Is he an opponent for Canelo?
Duh.
If he don't have a belt, and I want to see a champion fight Canelo.
Well, exactly. Well, go talk. Go tell Canelo, grow the cojones, and fight Charlo and Andrade instead of giving up your title, the pride of Mexico. Go tell Canelo that. Don't tell Akhi that. You don't know you don't know Quigley, right? Huh?
Look at Charlo and Andrade. Man,
Charlo fighting Deryachenko next. Hey, Canelo, the Charlo fighting Deryachenko next. The same guy Canelo vacated his strap, the IBF strap, to avoid. So what are we talking about at the end of the day? Deryachenko beat Gennady Golovkin. That's who Charlo next fight. Coming off a pandemic. Who the hell is Canelo fighting next? Smith, who's coming off a loss. If we all being honest, Caleb Smith lost his last fight to a small 168 pounder. If we all being honest, nobody know Quigley. Not even his biggest fans, T-Tone. So T-Tone, like I said, answer the $1 million question.
The subject because you can't beat the boxing truth.
Anyways, T-Tone, great talking to you like always, all right?
Yeah, all right,
Peace.
Akhi.
Like I said, anybody can get it.
But you could call me the Can Man.
Even the hardcore boxing fans of Canelo.
Dominicans, Mexicans,
because all they know is Canelo.
Anybody can get it.
My man kept deflecting. He said, Quigley is Errol Spence's opponent. Nah, that's Canelo opponent, bruh. Oscar De La Hoya about to do something that Canelo has been afraid of doing. Black Star Sport TV said Canelo is no Salvador Sanchez. Hell no, that's a disrespect. Whoever made that comment don't know ish about boxing. Chain TC, everybody is entitled to their own opinion. However, one thing that didn't lie to me was my eyes. I clearly saw Deryachenko winning that fight. So let me go ahead and move on to the next round. Naseem Richardson, may he rest in peace, inshallah. Obviously, he passed away. For the people that don't know, Naseem Richardson, thanks to him, he busted Margarito, one of the biggest boxing scandals at the time. Margarito cheated against Cotto and many more fighters in the past. And it was Naseem Richardson who busted him trying to cheat against Sugar Shane Mosley. And it wasn't the commission, it wasn't the referee that busted Margarito trying to cheat. It was Naseem Richardson. And if we all being honest, that's who Deontay Wilder really needs in his corner, especially at a time like this. We lost an important person in the sport of boxing. This is devastating news. It hurt me tremendously because Naseem Richardson was a perfect role model. He was a perfect trainer. However, like I said, time and time again, he was more than just a trainer. He was a cheater buster. And that's why Deontay Wilder needed him in his corner, because he was well aware of his surrounding and the corruption in the sport of boxing. You ain't gonna get no slick bullshit on Naseem Richardson. Naseem Richardson was a legendary character who trained legends, the likes of Hopkins, the likes of Sugar Shane, and Steve Cunningham. Naseem Richardson is also known for many different things outside of boxing. But if we're talking about boxing, one of his greatest accomplishments, in my humble opinion, was doing something that wasn't even really his job. He was doing something outside of his field, outside of his job, outside of his box. Busting Margarito in the biggest boxing scandal at the time, loading up his gloves. Margarito trainer, for the people that's not informed, is Tyson Fury Cutman nephew. However, Tyson Fury Cutman, the same Cutman for the Wilder fight, he changed him for the Deontay Wilder fight. However, that same person, I think his name is Hernandez, I might be mistaken, he was in the locker room. What was he doing? If he was in the Cutman, if he wasn't hired to be the Cutman, was he hired to do what Margarito did against Cotto? So all I'm pretty much saying, Deontay Wilder extremely needed a guy like Naseem Richardson in his corner at this day and time, because he will definitely do his job and more. He will definitely catch Tyson Fury cheating while he's cutting off the camera in his locker room, in his dressing room. Like, why would you cut off the camera if you are innocent? Is there a reason why would you cut off the camera? It's not even available for the public. For the people that don't know, the dressing room camera, they only show it every now and then. It's really for the commission to watch the fighter in case anything suspicious takes place. However, Tyson Fury cut off the camera, right? And then the WBC want to defend him blind, claiming he was there, when Deontay Wilder confirmed that's a lie. When Tyson Fury own dressing room camera confirmed that's a lie before they cut it. BT Sports footage, the 10 seconds they put up, that confirmed that was a lie, because the WBC president was nowhere to be found. And that's the same president, the corrupted president for the WBC, that condoned Canelo taking steroids, that condoned and stood next to Jimenez, and stood next to Margarito when he loaded up his gloves, claiming he was innocent. So all I'm saying is, you're no longer reliable, because on more than one occasion you defended cheaters. And we're not talking about innocent people. We're talking about cheaters that are conducting cheaters. I mean, Margarito, he's known for cheating. He got busted cheating, but that didn't stop the WBC president from claiming he was innocent. That didn't stop the WBC from claiming Jimenez was innocent. That didn't stop the WBC standing next to Canelo. So all I'm pretty much saying is, Deontay Wilder desperately needed a guy like Naseem Richardson in his corner. For the people that don't know, Naseem Richardson was very high on Deontay Wilder. He claimed that Deontay Wilder was the hardest puncher of all time. I thought it was George Foreman, in my humble opinion, but according to Naseem Richardson, he nearly convinced me, because he pointed out the fact that George Foreman will clap somebody, however they will get up. You know, Muhammad Ali once said George Foreman, he will hit Frazier 6 times and he will get up 6 times. He will hit Ken Norton 6 times or 3 times. He will get up 3 times. But Deontay Wilder, when he clap his opponents, they just go to sleep. They can't even get up, not even 1 time. So the point is, Naseem Richardson was very high on, Deontay Wilder, and the WBC, the commission, they didn't do their job. The corruption of boxing, Tyson Fury utilized that and took advantage of the loopholes in the system and cheated Deontay Wilder. It's clear as day for the people that want to dispute the facts. However, they don't want to come with any evidence. They don't want to come with any logic. They just want to come with emotion that's been exposed. They want to say things like, well, the glove looked photoshopped, and then we find out the photo is real, so you admitted the Tyson Fury glove was tampered with. They want to say, well, it don't matter if Tyson Fury cheated, because at the end of the day, or at least the night, Tyson Fury has more skill. right? So if he has more skill, why does he have to cheat? And that's just an idiotic comment, because at the end of the day, or at least the night, didn't Luis Ortiz have more skill than Deontay Wilder? Didn't Deontay Wilder knock him out? So that point is not even relevant, because Deontay Wilder beat guys more skillful than him. And that's why Tyson Fury resorted to tampering with his glove, because he don't have the cojones to fight fighters on the top level on an even playing field, due to the fact that he stay eating that contaminated meat, that wild boar that doesn't allow his cojones to grow. So it's clear as day that Tyson Fury cheated. We got doctors co-signing it. We have, sparring partners, Nicholas Asbury, that I'm going to have a pleasure of interviewing him this week, inshallah. We have many more. Like I said, even Steve Cunningham. Errol Spence retweeting it to Max Kellerman and ESPN. So the point is, Deontay Wilder got set up on Black History Month. The WBC want to stand and act like he's paying homage toward the Jack Johnson family. However, in the meantime, with that same breath, he will call Deontay Wilder stupid and irresponsible for making accusations and allegations against Tyson Fury when doctors co-signed him. Now, how irresponsible is that? The WBC have no honor, no integrity. They sold their soul. How are you going to stand up and stand for a cause for a person that's dead? However, when it comes to Deontay Wilder, the person that's still alive, you mistreat him while you claiming you paying homage to Jack Johnson, a person that's dead. That's beyond me. Nevertheless, the fact that Naseem Richardson, he's a perfect example of the corrupt that existed in boxing to this day. It exists today just like it did yesterday. All these top-ranked fighters. Excuse me. All these top-ranked fighters, from Luis Resto to Margarito, all these fighters find a way to cheat and take advantage of the loopholes in the system. I mean, what kind of coincidence is it? All these fighters are signed to Top Rank, and as soon as Tyson Fury signs to Top Rank, he get that complexion for the protection, hopeless, that's better than Geico. He get that full coverage. I mean, they covering his tail, right? Nevertheless, what's mind-boggling to me is the WBC gonna stand to a guy. I mean, they're gonna like I keep pointing it out, the WBC actually supported Tyson Fury more so than they did Deontay Wilder. You know why that is? Because you see Tyson Fury on his trunks, he have the WBC logo. On the other hand, Deontay Wilder, he been the champion for 5 years, the longest reigning champion. He done tied Muhammad Ali record. And he's not being co-signed by the WBC. He's not wearing their brand. He's not wearing their gloves. Like I said, Deontay Wilder pretty much got set up, but Naseem Richardson is a perfect example of the corruption in boxing, because Naseem Richardson, he caught he caught Margarito in the biggest boxing scandal of all time during that time, right? So due to that, that proved there's corruption in the sport of boxing, regardless if the commission is there, regardless if the referee is there, regardless if the camera is there. Because if the cameras is there, they're going to cut it. If the referee is there, they're going to maybe make sure it's a referee that's not aware of what's going on. The same referee for Margarito, they're going to bring him for the Tyson Fury fight. And like I said, the commission never do their job. So what more need to be said? Deontay Wilder needs to surround himself with the right team. And against Tyson Fury for the third time, he needed to make sure that this man won't get away with cheating yet again. So obviously, let's dive into the topic of the night. So Gary Russell, Jr. said he broke Terence Crawford's jaw. And he kind of gave a story of when he was in the Olympics, during the Olympics trials, and there was a guy named Dogging. I think that's what Gary Russell called him. AKA, he was also known as Dynamite. Now, Dynamite sparred Crawford, and he got the best of Crawford. Now, after Crawford pretty much lost the match, according to Gary Russell, he called his people and he said that Dynamite wasn't all that tight. You know, he wasn't all that sweet. He thought that he got the best of him, or he gave him the work, right? So 30 minutes later, that got back to Gary Russell and Dynamite, because Dynamite walked up to Gary Russell and told him, hey, listen, man, this man talking shit, talking about this and that, when I pretty much didn't go all out. I was just, you know, I'm over here doing my thing, partying, this and that, right? So he was like, but tomorrow I'm going to give him that work. Now, the next day, Terence Crawford sparred Dynamite, and Dynamite gave him the work. He was boxing, but they had a 20-point system that if you reach the 20-point system, they will call it, like, you know, they call the emergency room on you. They send you to emergency because he beat you by 20 points before you were able to keep up with him. So if you beat somebody by 20 points, according to Gary Russell, that will call the emergency room. So Dynamite was clowning Terence Crawford, claiming that he sent him to the emergency room. Now, Terence, you know, he didn't like that, so he went to Gary Russell and he was just telling Gary Russell, what you think about the fight? What do you think about the sparring? Don't you think he was running? Now, Gary Russell, he knows Dynamite, that's his friend, so he told him, listen, man, this is the name of the game, hit and don't get hit. That's the sweet science. Terence Crawford didn't like that, so he was going back and forth, and apparently, according to Gary Russell, he clocked him. He clocked him and he broke his jaw. So, according to Gary, he sent him to the hospital, this and that. He said it wasn't a fight, it was just one punch. He hit him, and that's all she wrote. Now, he now calling out Crawford. He calling out Crawford. He said he's willing to move up to 147. He willing to move up 4 weight divisions and fight pound for pound number 1, Terence Crawford. Man, listen, man. He got me speechless on that one, because ain't nobody moving up 4 weight divisions and fighting Terence Crawford and beating him. I'm going to just call a spade a spade. I mean, if you really think Gary Russell have a shot at doing so, you might want to do your homework, because when it comes to weight jumps in the sport of boxing, it's very, you know, jumping 2 weight divisions is already a huge weight jump, let alone 4 weight divisions. So it's one thing back in the day, but now Terence Crawford is a completely different fighter. Let me emphasize, Gary Russell back in the day, he was a beast. I mean, I always heard stories about Gary Russell and how he always, you know, he always gives guys the work. Give me a second. Hold on, Akhi. Give me a second. I got to connect you to the studio. How you doing, Akhi? Who this is, or where you calling from?
What's going on, brother? This is D calling from out of Cali. Hey, brother, I got to chime in. I got to ask this question, brother. So, Wilder, he when he lost the fight, the first thing he said was that suit was too heavy. We got to address that too. Not saying, yeah. When he said that suit was too heavy,
he didn't say it.
But then
His team did.
Wilder never said it?
Wilder never said it.
Oh.
See, that's where the confusion went. Wilder never said the suit was too heavy. Their team, they got asked why was Deontay Wilder off, and they said they blamed it on the suit. And that's why Deontay Wilder afterwards came out claiming there was snakes in his camp, and he had to get rid of them. Deontay Wilder never made the excuse. So we gotta clear that up. But what's funny?
Thanks for clearing that up, bro.
Yeah. Okay. What's funny though, ESPN. Remember at the time, ESPN, man, they chewed Deontay Wilder and spit him out when it came to that comment. And they didn't even check the fact that, did Deontay Wilder say it out of his own mouth, or was it a team member, right? However, when it came to Wilder's own Akhi, his own brother, speaking on the dent on his head, ESPN didn't say anything about that. They didn't respond to none of that. When that's a serious issue, and when you pretty much put a guy, his life was on the line, and you ain't gonna check on him and see if it's true at least, and raise the $1 million question: how is there a dent on his head? And a doctor co-signed this, and the doctor claimed that Tyson Fury had to have an object, because if you're wearing a 10-ounce heavyweight glove on, you're not gonna be able to put a dent on a man's head. So, anyways, I just want to respond to that and clear that up. But go ahead.
Well, bro, that's the only thing I had to say, man. You doing a hell of a job, man.
Hold on. You can't just dip like that. I gotta get your take on this shit. When it comes to Gary Russell. Now, listen. So, Crawford and Gary Russell, obviously they going back and forth. But Gary Russell, he came out of nowhere claiming that he broke Crawford's jaw, right? And then we obviously, for the people that don't know, Gary Russell was a beast back in the day when he was as an amateur. He was beating up everybody. Like, I heard so many stories. I seen so many videos of Gary Russell kicking ass, right? But
that's true.
Right. Nevertheless, though, the fight is not realistic in the pros, because now Terence Crawford is a completely different beast and a different animal. He already moved up to 147. He grew more than Gary Russell have. So what's your take on Gary Russell claiming he broke his jaw and him moving up 4 weight divisions? If he feel like Terence Crawford want to get him back for that, he willing to give him the opportunity. He's willing to face him and move up 4 weight divisions.
I don't see him moving up no 4 weight divisions. Beating Crawford, I think that's a long road to travel. But as far as him breaking his jaw, did Crawford deny it?
I was gonna dive into that. I was gonna save that for Terence Crawford response. But you can stick with me. You can stick with me. So you co-sign me. You think that fight is not realistic? You know what I mean, right?
No, I don't think it's realistic, man. That's just too far of a stretch for Russell. Crawford would be at 154 before Russell moves up. You know what I mean? Russell just trying to get a fight. To be honest with you, man, nobody's fighting the man. They need somebody. He need to fight somebody. He done called out Haney. He done called out Tank. He called out all the top names, and he got to bounce back off that Loma fight. That's the one that he needs to be chasing. Right. Forget everybody else. Get that L off. That set him 100%. 100%. He got to fight that man again.
Yeah, he does have to see Lomachenko. That's Lomachenko's best win to this date. You know what I mean? So he does have to see him.
Check this out. Let me ask you this right here, though. Right? Check this out. But how come, when everyone questioned, Mayweather lost to Castillo, Mayweather lost to Maidana, what did Mayweather do? He came right back. He ran it right back and got that rematch. Andre Ward did the same thing when he fought Kovalev the first time, because everyone raised a whole lot of noise. He came back and destroyed him. So my thing is, how come these fighters like Gary Russell, how come he couldn't get right back in the ring with Lomachenko again? That's the problem.
That's the problem in the sport of boxing. I mean, that was the best Lomachenko best win to this date, but
to this day, period.
Right, Lomachenko.
So that's like 3-4 years. How long ago? That's like about 4 years ago. Am I right?
Yeah, it's been a long time. 4 or 5 years. Yeah. I think it was 2014, if I'm not mistaken. It's been 6 years. Okay. So that's the issue in the sport of boxing. Gary Russell have to move up divisions, in order to get a fight. I mean, he can't fight the best at his division, and that's what's wrong with the sport of boxing, that the best don't fight the best. And eventually when the fight happened, I mean, they didn't drag the fight so much that fans already kind of tied up and mad, or like they're not as interested. I mean, you see the UFC, for example, there was a fight that was so hyped up, Masvidal and against Usman, and they made the fight happen in like a 1 week notice. It was like
1 week notice.
Man, and that's what we missing in the sport of boxing. Can you ever imagine Gervonta Tank Davis versus Lomachenko get made in 1 week notice? Like, that's...
you know what? Boxing needed a person like
Heyman to run it. That's what they need.
Well, definitely Al Heyman. But other than Al Heyman, they need the UFC guy. Dang, what's the man name? I can't believe I forgot Dana White.
Dana White, yeah.
And De La Hoya can kick rocks. We'll put Dana White in that position and let Al Heyman run PBC and let Dana White run the mother and we'll have all them fights made.
That's what I'm saying, and that's what we need in the sport of boxing. We need to have a governing body so there won't be any cheaters at the sport too. And when somebody does cheat, we could go to somebody and knock on somebody's door to hold somebody responsible. But now at the moment, really, you know what I mean? Boxing is missing so many pieces. I mean, it don't make any sense. But with that being said, you know, Terence Crawford responded to Gary Russell on Twitter by saying, look at little Gary trying to get some fame off my name. I will be back when I get freed up. I don't know what that means, freed up. Apparently, they not offering him the right amount of money. Now, let me tell you this. I like Terence Crawford. Now, when it comes to Terence Crawford and Gary Russell, they both had the same opportunities because they were both at the back of the line. You know, they both fighters on the coincidental list. We already know they got to do that much more in order to catch up with these fighters on the hope list, right? So they got to be twice as good, nearly. And Terence Crawford, he got it out of the mud. I mean, the man, he came from the trenches, from the bottom, and he came and he made himself something. Now, Gary Russell faced the same obstacles, but the Lomachenko loss, like we talked about, it set him back a little bit, you know what I mean? And then he could no longer get that big fight. He stayed inactive, which also hurt him because, like I always say, you see Charlo being avoided, you see Andre being avoided. But I keep telling these guys, just stay active. It don't matter if you fight a bum. As long as you keep staying active, you will request, like, regardless if Canelo don't want to face them, if they stay active and knock guys out, eventually Canelo is going to have to acknowledge them. Gary Russell, he kind of wanted the big names, and he wasn't as active, which that was a big mistake. Nevertheless, Gary Russell is one of the best, just like Terence Crawford. However, Terence Crawford took his career at his own hand, and he came from the bottom, and he got to the top. You know what I mean? So all I'm saying is all these fighters are from the coincidentalist. All these fighters are pretty much the murderous row of today. Gary Russell, Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, Charlo, Andre, Jamel. So the list goes on and on and on. You at the back of the line, you got to catch up with these fighters that's on the hope list, that's on the front of the line. And Terence Crawford did so. He came from the bottom. We all got to acknowledge this point. Gary Russell was more established when he first came to the pro game because obviously he was an Olympian. He didn't go to the Olympics because he suffered an injury. Nevertheless, he was an Olympian. He was hyped up. On the other hand, Terence, people didn't really hear much of him. And he made it all the way to the pound-for-pound #1 spot, hate or love it. Now, that being said, let me answer your question you asked me earlier. Was it true? Now, Terence Crawford actually talked to some reporters that he was comfortable with, and he revealed, I don't know if I should reveal this information because it was told to me, so I don't want to reveal it, but I think it's already out of the. I don't think Terence Crawford would be mad about the situation because he already talked to these reporters about it. So Terence told a reporter that I'm close with. He was like, "Listen, man, that Gary Russell guy, man, he got me one time. He stole me. Now he didn't break his jaw, none of that. He just hit him one good time. You know what I mean? And then they obviously broke the fight up. He hit him one good time though. That's what Crawford said. So it is true that Gary Russell did actually, still hit him.
This was pretty much on some street fight type,
it was on some street shit. You know what I mean? Like they were pretty much having a conversation, and Gary had that cool kind of like persona, like he calm, cool, and collective. Crawford, he kind of, he started popping off. According to Gary, and Gary he didn't even talk back. Like, he just clapped him, right? So that shocked Terence. Like, Terence just didn't see that coming. He like, man, I ain't expect them to swing on me. And then by that time, pretty much that's all she wrote. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't escalate from there. So I just want to,
always gotta protect yourself at all times, man. In the streets and in the ring, man. That's crazy.
You know what I mean? Terence might want to get him back. Terence might want to get him back and tell him, man, drag your ass over here. Nevertheless, you know what I mean? Crawford is a completely different fighter now, though. Crawford is.
But we still gotta be honest, though, man. Bud ain't fought nobody yet, man. He gotta fight somebody in that weight class, in that 147, to to be crowned. This now, I'm with you on this opinion. I hate to say anything about opinions because I don't believe in opinions, but I just feel as though Bud got to fight somebody the same way Spence had to do it. They made Spence crawl to the top the same way Bud going to have to crawl to the top. We can't say nothing about the 140 weight class to 135 because, to be honest, I mean, who did he fight? You know, at that weight division.
I think Crawford did. You know, he fought his way to the top. You know, he had to go to the UK. He had to fight Gamboa in his hometown. He had to do a lot.
Gamboa, come on, Gamboa was already damn as good. Like no one, everybody forgetting that Gamboa had got caught up in, you know, in the whole PED thing too. When he was, I think when he was flying the 50, I think 50 and them had him all messed up. You know what I'm saying? So by the time Crawford got to that boy, man, that boy was already.
Yeah, but Crawford still fought good names like Postal and Flex Diaz and them, and he watched these guys. Now, at 147, I can't blame Crawford for anything because at 147, if you're looking at the landscape, he wanted to fight Ugas. Ugas, he had other options. So who are we going to blame? We can't blame Crawford because Crawford really wanted to fight. Ugas said otherwise because he had a WBA title that he got a shot with, right? Now, Sean Porter, he said if he really wanted, he could get.
Talking about Porter, when Porter, you know, before Porter fought Spence, he was doing a whole lot of dancing.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So you well aware of what's going on. Now, Terence, on the other hand, he ain't dancing around Errol Spence, and we already know that's the truth. So if you,
I really believe a lot of cats. Yo, that whole thing with the Spence situation. Hey, but I really believe, nobody want to no smoke with Spence until that Porter fight. And I ain't see no holes in it. I ain't see no holes in this.
Oh, you didn't see that? You didn't see that when Terence pulled up on Errol Spence, or when they kind of pulled up on each other? I shouldn't say.
They was talking trash to each other.
That was before that was before the Mikey Garcia fight, though. So
it was him tanking Crawford somewhere in the hallway somewhere talking trash to each other. I remember. I think Crawford had on not Crawford, but Spence had on the red hoodie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Crawford really wanted to fight. He was telling Errol Spence, "Let's fight next." He said, "What do I need to do?" Errol Spence told him, "I don't got no deals for you. Call Al, and I'll fight you. I don't dodge anybody." So I believe they both want to fight each other. Like I said, time and time again, they both. Man, Terence, he nearly be begging for the Errol Spence fight. So I can't say he don't want the fight. Like from day one, he kept the same energy.
I think he need to get away from Al. He need to come see Al Haymon. Because all the Aaron, he need to go holler at Floyd. Floyd, what do I need to do to get up out of this contract? Somebody go and buy him out of that contract. Give him a couple dollars. You already know you're gonna get the money back. As soon as you make the first fight with Crawford, that money's gonna be paid back. Buy the man out the contract.
The problem with Top Rank, the way they deals go, if you fight for a world title, it will extend your contract. You get trapped in that shit. It's like a trap, bro.
That's the worst thing. For his career, I think that was the worst thing the brother ever could have done. Was signed to Bob Arum. He should have ran on the PBC and got it in. Why not? Because now you can't make the fight.
I agree with you on that. I agree with you on him re-signing with Top Rank. I think it would have been a wiser decision to go to PBC. Now, I already expressed my feelings on that. Terence disagreed. He felt like him sticking with Top Rank is not a problem because Wilder fought Tyson Fury. But again, Wilder fought Tyson Fury because those two fighters want to fight each other. A lot of guys, like I said, like Sean Porter, like you said, he dances around it. So at the end of the day, how bad do you really want it? We know Terence want it, but how bad do the other guys want it? I got another caller on the line. I appreciate you, Akhi.
All right, brother. Appreciate you too, brother. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. How you doing, Akhi? Who this is and where you calling from?
What's up, Akhi? This is Terence calling from Maryland.
Talk to me.
Call. How you doing?
How you doing, Akhi? So, talk to me. How you feel about Terence responding to Gary Russell? I mean, he in a lose-lose situation because Gary he only could gain from this. He could gain money, and if he loses, I mean, he moved up 4 weight divisions. I mean, it's not even a question. It would look ridiculous for Crawford to fight Gary Russell. On the other hand, like I said, it's pretty much a lose-lose situation. So what should Terence do? Just ignore what Gary had to say, even though it's pretty much true because he did clap him one time, when they were in the Olympic trials or training, whatever. So what's your take on the whole incident?
It's a fighter's heart situation. If the situation is true where Gary Russell clapped on him and fractured his jaw or broke his jaw or whatever situation is, and now Gary Russell's talking about it and putting Crawford on blast, and then saying that I'm willing to come to 47 if you don't. I'm talking about it now, and I'm willing to come to 47 if you don't like it. Okay, so there's a situation where if Terence Crawford is a real fighter, then he's gonna have to take that challenge because dude broke your stuff. And he said, being a smaller man, he said, I'm willing to come up there and do it again if you don't like what I'm saying. Now, Terence Crawford was raised up in the hoods of Omaha, and Mr. Gary Russell was raised in the hoods of Maryland, which is where I'm from. Those are things that are not taken lightly. That is a serious, serious challenge.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
that's challenging somebody's manhood. You
Right.
can't turn that down.
Yeah, I mean,
You can't turn that down.
yeah, you can't turn it down. I mean, like with what Crawford should do, he should say, "Listen, man, I can't fight you, but I spar you wherever, whenever." You know what I mean?
No. You can't do that. No.
You don't
can't
think
do that.
because he's not going to be able to fight him? I don't think he's going to be able to fight him.
His manhood. This goes deeper than boxing at this point. This goes deeper than boxing. His manhood's been pulled.
Right. He done pulled his buttons. He done pulled certain type of buttons. Now, obviously Crawford, he's saying that he's clout chasing off his name, but you see Crawford, he didn't deny the allegations or the fact that Gary Russell claimed he clapped him. Like I said, Terence Crawford talked about this in the past. It's not a big deal. At the end of the day, people fight. People get into scuffles. Somebody get the first lick. We nearly saw Terence Crawford almost do Benavidez the same way. If Benavidez didn't move his head, So people get to scuffles. People get into arguments. However, Gary Russell, he did my man greasy. I ain't gonna lie. But I got another caller on the line, man. I appreciate talking to you. All right.
Hey, Akhi, there was another issue I want to talk about.
Yeah, go ahead.
The other issue was the Crawford Spence thing.
Okay. Yes.
Now, the Crawford Spence issue. I don't think that Crawford really wants that smoke with Spence, and this is why I say so. In the last couple fights that we saw with Spence admittedly said that he wasn't taking, and the car accident proved it, that he wasn't taking things seriously. And there was at least one interview on TV where Errol Spence was visibly intoxicated on an interview.
Yeah, I remember.
That he wasn't taking things seriously.
Yeah, and I actually made a video on that, and I told him to get things together. I remember that.
Yeah, and then after that, there was a car accident, and then there was people who criticized him for not being able to get Michael Garcia out of this, and then Errol Spence talked about how he had to drop all that weight. He came in overweight. He had to drop a bunch of weight, and it took him like a couple hours before he started to sweat. And then there was the same thing with the Sean Porter fight or whatever. So that was over a span of 2 years or something like that. Between those two fights, approximately.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you get Errol Spence back to the way that he was pre-Carol Brook fight, and you take everything that he learned, everything that he learned about the sport now, and you give him the drive back pre-Carol Brook fight, And then you look at Terence Crawford, and the way Terence Crawford, if you get a couple good licks on him, he will try to dog it out with you, and he takes too many licks, and he has a tendency to get hurt, and then he has his game plan is that if you're a brawler, he will try to beat you at your own game or whatever. He has a tendency of trying to do that. You can't do that against Errol Spence. If you try to do that against Errol Spence, you will get dog walked.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna do that against Errol Spence. I think he's gonna fight his game. But one thing, like you said, not even his game is gonna work. I'm pretty sure you favor Errol Spence. You know the way you kind of predicting it out to be. But you know that I wouldn't say that. I won't question Crawford winning the fight though. I think Crawford wants the fight. You just believe that Errol Spence will beat him. But I think that Crawford won the fight. That's for sure.
I'm not saying that. No. I'm not saying that. I'm not predicting a winner. What I'm saying is that people are counting Errol Spence out because of
I feel you. I wouldn't call it. I mean, you can't count the truth out. I mean, his nickname, The Truth, because he's going to be here. It's smoke season every season for Errol Spence. Like I always say, this man, you know, he has a purpose. You know what I mean? So he survived in a miracle way, just like Terence. A lot of people forget Terence got shot in the head and drove himself to the hospital and treated himself. So at the end of the day, they both here for a purpose. So that's a fight I'm willing to pay all my money for, you know, because like Errol said, they're going to go in there ready to kill each other in order to get a W. With that being said, I got another caller on the phone. I appreciate talking to you, Akhi, all right?
All right, man. Peace, man.
All right, peace.
Congratulations on the baby, man.
All right, thank you so much, Akhi. 100. Appreciate it.
All right, peace.
Call my man right here. Oh yeah, right here. I got it. How you doing, Akhi? Who this is and where you calling from?
Hey, Akhi. My name is Batman. I'm calling from DC.
Say it again. You know, the phone line was breaking. Say it again.
I said my name is Batman. I'm calling from DC.
Batman. All right. How you doing, Akhi? Now let me talk to you about this. For Devin Haney, obviously is
Nah. I want to talk about the Gary Russell situation.
Okay, so I was gonna talk about Devin Haney and Gary Russell, but go ahead. What do you want to talk about?
I'm talking about the Terence Crawford. We can talk about both.
Yeah,
the Terence Crawford and Gary Russell situation.
Go ahead.
Deontay Boxing Nation put the 5 years ago. He did an interview with Todd Herbie. Todd Herbie was there.
Okay.
He had to break his jaw because Todd Herbie was saying that he don't think Terence will do well against Errol Spence. No, not Errol Spence, but I apologize. Against Matisse, when Matisse was running 140, he was like he wouldn't do good with none of the heavy hitters because he ain't got no chin.
And what he say?
And then he talked about the Gary Russell because he was like, him and Gary Russell got into a scruffle. And, you know, it ain't go well for Terence Crawford. But he wasn't trying to say that Terence Crawford got his jaw broke. He was like he wasn't going to put all the information out there. Go look it up. It's on Dante Boxing Nation.
Yeah, no, I know my man Dante. Shout out to Dante. That's the best doing it. But see, Crawford, like I said, he even talked about it to some reporters. I won't reveal who the reporters are.
Yeah, but he downplaying it. No, he's downplaying it.
Now Crawford, he acknowledged. He acknowledged. He was like,
he ain't acknowledged. He said, I just saw your interview. He said to your man that he got the interview with. Gary Russell just told me he ain't break my jaw. He got his jaw fractured.
I mean, he ain't gonna say all that, of course. He gonna.
I know he ain't gonna say all that. But and you keep on saying that Gary Russell can't beat him. Won't y'all lie before the fight and give him a chance?
Man, listen, man, you trying to violate Gary Russell, bro? You got something against Gary or something?
No, that's my little brother.
But why you trying to get him beat up? Why you trying to get him beat up, man? Like
he gonna get beat up. Man, he will fuck Terence Crawford up, man.
You think he gonna what?
Listen. Don't you listen. For real, I'm dead serious.
Okay.
I'm dead serious. The Lomachenko fight, listen, he's gonna fuck him up.
Okay.
What you talking about? Game ball almost slapped him. And Gamboa the same size as Gary Russell.
But people forget Gamboa was the shit back in the day. People think,
man, Gary Russell the shit. Y'all just know, man, Al Heyman, PBC won't give him a chance.
Listen.
Somebody.
He the most feared. Gary Russell the most feared at 126 for a reason. But that's 126.
Because he'll fucking he's a fucking. Hold. Won't you let me get off?
Okay,
let me get off, and I'm gonna let you get off.
Yeah, go ahead.
He's the most feared. Listen to this, Tank Davis. When somebody say something real vicious about Tank Davis, what he do?
What he do?
He get on Twitter and rant. Every time Gary Russell say something about him, he don't say shit. He don't say nothing. The proof is in the pudding. You can go back and look at all the interviews. When Terence Crawford said something about him, he went on Terence Crawford. When Tevin Farmer said something about him, he went on Tevin Farmer.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I ain't say Gary Russell. I never questioned Gary Russell. I know Gary the truth. My computer about it died, so let me get this across.
Y'all keep on saying, but y'all. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, let me get this across because my computer about to die, and I want to talk, and I want to dive in with you on the Devin Haney topic too. So, nobody said Gary Russell is not a beast. We know he a beast, but 4 weight divisions is a huge jump. Yeah. You cannot make that. You can't.
But listen, y'all let Mikey Garcia do it. Go ahead. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
So Gary Russell, you asking too much from him if you want him to move up 4 divisions. I know he said it too, but of course he's gonna say that because he's just that type of a guy. Like I'm pretty sure he willing to do it because he got that type of character. But doesn't mean he gonna give Crawford a fight. It might be competitive the first round, but that's all she wrote after that because Crawford is no longer that same guy from the Olympics days. He grew so much, and I'm not just talking about his size and his physical. I'm talking about his skill. And let me tell you this: Gary Russell is not a power puncher. Gary Russell is not a power puncher. Crawford is a power puncher, and he will stop Gary Russell because it's just too much of a weight jump. And if you don't think that is, I'm surprised. I'm surprised.
Listen, because I done seen it. I done seen my little brother fight 147 pounders, 160 pounders, and beat their ass at the age of 14. So I know
Gary a beast.
No. Won't you listen? And then Terence Crawford, y'all keep hyping him up. He haven't fought a dog yet. Y'all keep on talking about his skill set. He haven't fought a dog yet.
So what about Devin Haney? What about Devin Haney? What about Devin Haney?
Fuck Devin Haney up.
So,
come on, man. Listen.
You think he move up 2-weight division? You think he move up 2-weight division and fuck up Devin Haney?
And fuck him up.
Why you think that is? Because you got Lomachenko avoiding Devin Haney. He want no part of Devin Haney.
That's Lomachenko.
Lomo was the guy that wanted Gary Russell at the time when they fought.
Cause why? They was both fighting for a vacancy belt. Cool. Gary Russell didn't have. He wanted to fight no more dog. All right. Cool. But Gary Russell was over 5 pounds and had to get in the sauna and still made it through the fight. He still made it through the whole fight.
So what did you say? Reflect on that again. Reflect on that. What you said?
Listen, he had to lose 5 pounds. He was overweight. He had to lose 5 pounds. He gets in the sauna, and anybody that do sports know if you get in the sauna, it weakens you.
Yeah.
Trying to lose weight.
I know.
Trying to lose weight. It weakens you.
Yeah, Prince Nassim Hamed dealt with the same thing, but he got to run it back with Lomachenko. Nevertheless, Akhi, please.
Man, he can run it back with Lomachenko.
Because my computer about to die, so go ahead and
talk
the last couple comments.
Cool. Listen. He will fuck Devin Haney up. I'm not playing, man. He will fuck Devin Haney up.
That's your opinion. It's okay.
Look at Shakur Stevenson, man. Shakur Stevenson, listen. Look what Bill Haney do. He put spawn out there of bums, of Devin Haney fucking up bums. But somebody I think Deontay's Boxing Nation put the tape out when he responds to Shakur Stevenson. He didn't look so good. Yeah.
I mean, Shakur is the future pound for pound #1 though.
But ask Shakur, when he came out of gym to work with Gary Russell Jr., Gary Russell Jr. almost slept his ass.
Ah, no.
Oh, man, ask him.
You're standing next to that.
Man,
who this again? Because I didn't know this was part of Gary Russell.
Listen, my name is Batman. My name is Batman.
So you said Shakur went to Gary Russell and they sparred and Gary Russell gave him the work, according to you.
Yeah.
So
Gary Russell said it on the.
Why won't they fight each other? Why they won't fight each other? Because it's a huge fight. Shakur and Devin.
Listen,
excuse me.
Listen, Shakur, but do you hear? Listen, when he won his belt, he never said nothing about Gary Russell. He want to fight Charles Walton.
Yeah,
why would you want to fight? Listen, why would you want to fight somebody you know you can beat?
Yeah, listen, did. Yeah, because listen though.
Shakur, if I say I'm the best, listen, if I say I'm the best, I'm trying to see the best person in the ring.
But you know, Shakur, he called out Gary Russell. He said he
No, he didn't.
He did.
No, he didn't. Don't look at the interview.
I did.
Don't look at the interview.
He called out
when
Gary Russell.
Said, but look, he didn't call him out. He was like, I'll fight. The dude asked him. He was like, I'll fight him, but you know, Gary's my friend. He sounded real friendly. Come on, man. He ain't calling him out. There ain't no call out.
Somebody gonna have to fight Gary Russell, man. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
but it won't be tennis. Let's make it clear.
Listen,
it's too much of a wager.
Once you get, how? If he's trying to do it, let him do it. Y'all let Mikey Garcia do it.
Man,
y'all let Mikey Garcia do it.
That was 2 divisions, my man.
And y'all whitewash. No, Mikey Garcia is a 126-pounder. You don't remember? He came in as a 126-pounder.
And what happened to him?
Do you remember?
And
he got whitewash.
That's
he got whitewash.
So
Mikey Garcia not that good.
So you want to see
Mikey Garcia not that. Mikey Garcia not that good. He's slow. He's not that good for real. He's a good Mexican fighter. But why you think he always listen? Why you think he ducked a couple of black fighters himself? I'm talking about black fighters that can stand on his toes. That's why he won't fight no real black fighters that can box for real, like a Mayweather.
According to Belly Haney. According to Belly Haney, he said
he came with the offer.
Yeah,
now he's trying to say Gary Russell outpriced himself. Yeah. But why you didn't come back with a counter offer? Well, like Gary, man, that's too high.
I agree with
Listen.
you. Hold on.
Man,
Let me point out what Billy said. Billy Haney said he told Gary Russell, "Listen, you got 48 hours. Tell Al Heyman the same offer you requested from us.
And Gary said he's doing that now.
Yeah,
he's doing that now. He on the phone. He trying to get on the phone with what's come now. But listen to this. Why Haney said that, right? But why, when you thought Gary give you the number, why you ain't come back and say, look, Gary, that's too much of a high number. We can do this.
I agree with you.
We can do this.
They could have negotiated.
Yeah,
That's
come on, man.
Negotiations.
Yeah, it's part of negotiations.
But
so that means you ducking. That means you ducking.
Let me say this, because, you know, Belly Haney had great points. Like, he was like, listen, if they could offer us the same amount of money, you know, they requested
but why you ain't
from
come
us,
straight out?
we go see them at Showtime. So it could, this could happen.
All right, it can happen. But why you ain't do that? You had to do that when Gary tried to pull your card. Why you ain't do that behind the scenes? Why you ain't do that behind the scenes?
Yeah, my man, calm down. I got you. Listen. So Devin Haney, I think he want the fight. I think Devin Haney want the fight.
I
just think it's business.
Nah,
I just think it's miscommunication.
Listen,
I think it's miscommunication.
Devin Haney not no ducker. But listen, y'all say Lomachenko duck Devin Haney.
He did.
If that was somebody else, I know he did. If that was somebody else, they would have got crucified. Y'all don't even crucify Lomachenko for that shit, man. Y'all don't even crucify him for that shit, man.
Don't include me, though, because I gave Lomachenko the
apologize.
To this day. I gave him the word to this day. So let's just put things in perspective. New media, we're doing our job. I called out Cruz. I called out Cruz. Hold on. Let me make one thing clear.
I told you, when you and your man was joined, and your man was trying to say Cruz wasn't scared. I saw that interview. But listen, listen to this.
Who?
You and your man. I don't know his name.
Professor, yeah. Like I said,
right,
I called him out. I told him what time it is. I stand next to Gary Russell, but I just want to make one thing clear. I just think I respect weight classes.
You call everything out. Good, Akhi. I ain't saying you don't.
I appreciate it. Okay.
But listen to this. But listen to this though. A lot of media don't call Lomachenko out for ducking Shorty. Then everybody keep on talking about Shorty not no real champion. How? You vacated your title and I got it now. I was trying to take it from you. Now Timofimo Lopez keep on trying to fake like Devin Haney ain't get ducked or he ain't no real champion. Tell Timo stop that shit, man. Stop that sucker shit.
Hey,
I know y'all on the same y'all on the same side of the street, but stop that shit. Call a spade a spade. The man ducked the joint. Y'all about to fight y'all supposed to be fighting for unified titles. But you can't get the WBC unless you go fight Devin Haney.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like I said, Devin Haney is avoided. I think all these fighters are the black murderers role of today. Gary Russell.
Devin Haney not avoided because Gary Russell trying to fight him.
Yeah,
what
but
are you talking about?
They're going to fight each other, though. I think they're going to fight each other.
So you can't call them avoided no more. You can't call them avoided.
I mean,
they trying to fight each other.
Let's see what's going on with Gary Russell. If he's going to be able to come back with something.
If he fuck up, motherfucker, Devin Haney, Terence Crawford need to go ahead and step up, man. Let Shorty make some history then.
Oh, man. I mean, like I said, listen,
yeah.
I love
Terence
Gary
Crawford,
Russell.
Man,
I love Gary Russell.
Terence Crawford ain't what y'all think he is, man. Go look at the tape.
Man,
go look at the tape.
Get a word out.
Go ahead, Akhi.
Yeah,
go ahead, Akhi. I'm going to let you rock, man.
Don't get it confused. I just say, listen, I respect weight classes. I respect weight jumps. I think Gary Russell at 126, he the best at his division. He could clean out 126, this and that. I think at 130, once Shakur moved up to 130, that's a mega fight for Gary Russell. That's a lot of great fights. However, can Gary Russell get them fights? We know Cruz ducking him. We know so many fighters ducking him. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. He wanted
Tank Davis, Cruz.
Yeah,
Tank Davis, Cruz.
At the end of the day, that's too much of a weight. You don't think?
Listen, let me say this.
You shocking me that you from Gary Russell's team or whatever or his gym, but you don't think it's a too much of a weight jump to move to 135?
I know, because I know he's special. Because I know he's special. I know he's special. Won't y'all? No, I know he's special. Won't y'all find out? He ain't talking for nothing.
We'll see.
He ain't talking for nothing.
We're gonna see. So, like I said, for what you say to Belly Haney, claiming, "Hey, listen, we told Gary Russell go see Al Heyman and see if you could, deliver the same offer."
He's doing it now.
He's doing it now. So if he is not able, to do so, what should be next? What should be done next?
They should come to an agreement. They should come to agreement.
Okay, so
whoever can get the best money up, make the fight happen. Hey, stop playing. Stop playing. Keep on saying.
What it is. So we're gonna talk about it next show, Akhi. So I appreciate you. My computer about to die. Any last comments? Just go ahead and
Listen, man. I want to say this. About Oscar Valdez trying to pull that shit on Floyd Mayweather. How you gonna pull that shit on Floyd Mayweather and you duck Gary Russell your whole fucking career?
And he ducked Shakur. So how can you say Floyd Mayweather messed it up for us? When Floyd Mayweather fought the best. Floyd Mayweather fought the best for 2 decades.
For 2 decades, when he was Pretty Boy Floyd, he fought whoever. Whoever jumped out there with him, he fought him. Come on, man. Oscar Valdez, man, need to stop that shit, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They need to stop that shit, man.
He put more attention on himself because now people are going to request him to fight the likes of Shakur and Gary Russell. With that being said, I'm going to have another show this Wednesday, so tune in and call in, all right?
All right, Akhi.
All right. My man came in hot. He ain't playing. So my computer about to die, so I'm going to go ahead and finish the show today. I'm going to have another one this Wednesday, and then next week I'm going to have Akhi Boxing Hood. But I just want to leave on a last couple comments with, we'll see happens and develops between Devin Haney and between Devin Haney and Gary Russell. On the other hand, we of course have Oscar Valdez. He claiming that Floyd Mayweather this, Floyd Mayweather that, but you training with Canelo Alvarez trainer, right? And you could ask Canelo, he the one that causing fighters to duck because he's not living by example. So with that being stated, I'm gonna go ahead and take us out because my computer about to die and the camera already died.